When you hear the word disability, what do you think about? Poverty, vulnerability, or charity? But did you know that 30% of older persons in this country have some sorts of disabilities? What kind of protection mechanism exists in this country? Let's think about together. Hello everyone, thank you very much for watching. I'm Ipe Tsuruga from International Labour Organization. Let's start by costs related to persons with disabilities. When it comes to disability issues, we tend to discuss quite broad idea, but in practice and in reality, we can break down the costs related to persons with disabilities. So here is my idea. First of all, of course, the person with the disability still need to have a regular income. So income security is needed to pay for food and non-food basic needs for themselves. So they need the regular income. Second, they need medical care. They may require to go to the hospital to have a regular checkup, or they may also require some medicines. So they need medical care costs. Lastly, they also need other types of care. They may not require medical care support, but they may require some rehabilitation services, or they need probably the personal assistance to help them take a bath or help them go to toilet, help them move around within the house and then also within the town. So they require these kinds of costs. These are quite a broad breakdown of the cost to think about the overall idea about disability-related costs. Social protection programs can potentially fulfill these expenditure needs for persons with disabilities. Employment injury insurance can provide income replacement for persons with disabilities due to work-related injury and illness. Disability pension can potentially provide person disabilities with income replacement due to non-work related injuries and illness. Social assistance programs can potentially support person disabilities by birth and those who do not have EII or pension. If a country has a comprehensive mechanism to fulfill the protection gap between these three different schemes, person disabilities can be effectively protected. Employment injury insurance can usually come with the medical care supports and rehabilitation care supports, but pension insurance doesn't usually provide free access to the medical care, but health insurance program can potentially provide medical care supports for those who are affected by non-work related accidents. So the medical care can provide potentially the free or discounts medical care supports for everyone, and other care supports, other care needs can be fulfilled by long-term care insurance. What about Indonesia? JKK provides employment injury benefits. However, it is providing only lump sum payments. When people become disabled permanently, the JKK can provide a lump sum one-time payment. When persons with disabilities use all the savings from a JKK lump sum payment, they will have to leave themselves. Jaminan Pension potentially provides a annuity. However, the formula is still below the international labor standards. And importantly, Jaminan Pension is limited to large and medium enterprises, and the workers in small and micro enterprises are usually not covered because it is not required for their companies to enroll their employees. Self-employed are not protected by the Jaminan Pension, so they may only have JKK to rely on. Social assistance benefits are very limited in this country. If you are living in poor and vulnerable households with small children, you may be entitled to receiving a PKH benefits from the Ministry of Social Affairs. However, if you are not poor or vulnerable, or if you are not having children, you may not receive these benefits. So you may have to live yourself without any state support. However, there may be a lot of children with disability by birth. There are no programs to protect them. JKN can potentially provide medical supports for many people. However, there is no mechanism to provide other kinds of supports, including long-term care insurance in this country. So there are a lot of rooms for improvement in this country. The coverage of disability benefits in Indonesia is unfortunately one of the lowest among the ASEAN member states. The reason is very clear because of the legal limitation. JKK provides a wide coverage than Jaminan Pension, but the Jaminan Pension provides only limited coverage to workers in large and medium enterprises. Social assistance benefit is very limited, and it targets only the poor and vulnerable households. However, persons with disabilities are not always living in poor and vulnerable households. Persons with disabilities require support, not because of poverty, but because of their disability status. So it is important to think about how to fulfill the protection gaps in social protection system and how these programs can be financed. The last but not least, disability is related to aging as well. Many people tend to think about disabilities related to poverty and vulnerability. However, it may not be true. Most people in these countries will experience aging in the future, and their families will have to support persons with disabilities in their family. When people are getting old, they require personal supports, not because of poverty, not because of health issues, but because of aging. However, there is no mechanism to support such disabilities due to aging. So there are a lot of rooms for improvement, including employment injury insurance, pension insurance, social assistance programs, and long-term care insurance programs in the future. So what would be the best formula in these countries? Older persons with disabilities will require regular income to make a living. So of course they need a pension from JKK, Jaminan Pension, to fulfill their basic needs. They also need special care supports from long-term care insurance. They need medical care supports for free. However, in these countries, older persons with disabilities will also have to pay contributions to JKN programs. But to pay JKN programs and long-term care insurance programs, they also need regular incomes. So there's no one solution. We need income supports. We need health insurance to provide discount or free of charge medical care support. We need other care supports at a low cost or free of charge. So we need all these insurance mechanism or tax-funded mechanism. What would be the best formula for Indonesia? What would be the potential room for improvement? Please think about it.